The air tasted like metal and rot. Kaela Rix stood shackled under Gorath Prime's pale sun, its rays filtered through toxic clouds and static-choked sky. Her boots sank slightly in the ash-laced soil, if you could call it soil. Around her, hunched shapes shifted in a procession of silence, prisoners in rust-colored suits trudging toward the mining pit. The wind howled through the fractured steel fences, dragging with it the scent of decay and scorched wiring. A syndicate drone hissed overhead, scanning the line. Kaela didn't flinch. That alone earned her a shove from the rear guard. "Move, meet," barked the officer behind her. His voice was wet with contempt, his claws twitching over the electroprod slung at his side. Kaela turned her head just enough to meet his reptilian eyes. "You break that stick on me," she said evenly, "you'll need it to bite your food." The guard blinked. Then he laughed. "Humans. Still got bark after exile. Cute." The prod cracked against her ribs. Pain flared white, but Kaela didn't stumble. She absorbed it like a thunderclap across a glacier, deep, but not breaking. Not yet. They reached the shaft gates, twin doors made from scavenged hull plating. Plasma weld still glowed faintly. Inside, the pit loomed like an open throat. The prisoners descended by the dozen, swallowed into the mine's furnace-dark belly. Kaela's turn came. As she stepped forward, a small shriek broke the rhythm. A young figure, thin, pale blue skin, eyes too large for its head, tumbled into the dust. One of the smaller aliens, no more than 10 by Kaela's guess. It had tripped, exhausted. The line halted. A different syndicate officer, broad-shouldered and eager, stalked toward the child. No delay. "Get up, worm." The kid tried. Failed. Without warning, the officer struck. His gauntlet whistled through the air and connected with a sharp smack across the child's face. The little one collapsed, blood blooming like ink on its cheek. Kaela's body moved before her mind caught up. She broke formation, closing the space between herself and the officer in 3 steps. Her chains clinked lightly. Her eyes were cold. "Try hitting someone who hits back." The officer turned, stunned, mid-sneer. "You want what it got, feral?" Kaela's answer was a hook punch with all her weight behind it. The sound of her fist meeting his jaw was like cracking ice. He staggered, eyes wide, teeth dislodged mid-growl. Blood spilled across the ash. He went down hard, twitching. The other prisoners froze. Kaela exhaled slowly. "That's one." Another guard lunged. Kaela dodged, tripping him with a swift kick to the knee. As he fell, she used the force of his weight to dislocate his shoulder, efficient, brutal, clean. No flourish. Just Deathworld muscle memory. A siren began to wail. Prisoners backed away. Drones swooped in. Stun bolts zapped into the ground near her boots. Kaela raised her hands calmly, blood dripping from her knuckles. The child whimpered. She looked down, voice softer now. "Stay low. Don't talk." Then they took her. They bound her tighter, dragged her across the camp floor. As they passed rows of prisoners, no one spoke. But many looked. And remembered. The officer with the broken jaw moaned as Kaela was hauled past. She met his gaze and smiled, not kindly. Warden Vroxelter's chamber reeked of sterilized hate. His throne was elevated above a pit of display screens, feeds from every corner of the mine. Kaela stood at the center, bruised, hands cuffed behind her. Vrox studied her. His serpentine face was expressionless, save for a subtle curl of distaste at the corners of his scaled mouth. "You bit one of my enforcers," he said finally. "I didn't bite," Kaela replied. "I used my fists." "You want me to bite?" The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. "I know what you are," Vrox said at last, slithering from his perch and circling her slowly. "Earthborn. Deathworlder. You're used to brutality. You drink poison and call it water. You survive on volcanoes. We call it breakfast." He ignored the quip. You think that makes you dangerous here? Gorath is worse. I've watched men drown in acid mist before they could scream. I've seen psionic minds shattered by the echoes of this world. You won't last. Kaela tilted her head. You've seen those things, but you didn't do them. His slit pupils narrowed. What are you implying? You're a bureaucrat in scales. All venom, no fangs. A hiss escaped his throat. You will learn obedience. I'll make sure of it. You'll be transferred to Isolation Block 9. Her lip twitched. You know what happens when you isolate a Deathworlder? What? He snapped. We think. And we plan. She was struck again. This time, not by a guard, but by the warden himself. His claws sliced across her cheek, drawing 3 lines of blood. Kaela staggered, but stayed upright. He leaned in close. When I'm done with you, your name will mean nothing. You'll beg to be forgotten. Kaela's smile didn't reach her eyes. That would be an improvement from being your favorite show. They dumped her in isolation before nightfall. The cell was 2 meters wide, 1 meter deep. No bed. No food port. Just a speaker crackling with static and a red light that never turned off. The floor hummed with residual current. She sat cross-legged in the corner, breathing evenly through her nose. Pain traced up her side, but she welcomed it. Familiar terrain. Earth had taught her to turn pain into discipline. Her fingers pressed softly against the wall. Counting vibrations. Measuring cycles. 20 steps to the entrance hall. 6 guards on shift. 1 camera every 3 seconds. Every system had a rhythm. And Deathworlders? They were the best at finding cracks in rhythm. She closed her eyes. 2 days, she whispered. Outside, the wind screamed against the walls of Gorath Prime. But inside the cell, a storm was just beginning. Silence wasn't peace on Gorath Prime, it was strategy. Kaela sat against the cold alloy wall of Isolation Block 9, her breath slow, eyes half-lidded but aware. The red light overhead burned constantly. There was no night here, just pulses of noise from the speaker above her, random blasts of static and garbled alien speech meant to fracture the mind. She ignored it. Her fingers were busy. She'd pried a sliver of metal from the wall panel on day 1. Now, she pressed it beneath her thumbnail, etching symbols into her thigh. Not deep. Just enough to leave coordinates. Lines. Angles. Patterns. Each etching a map, shifts, doors, blind spots. Every stroke a memory she refused to forget. Pain was information. The cut told her she was still here. Still human. Still in control. The speaker shrieked again. She didn't flinch. They came on the 4th cycle. 2 guards. 1 drone. And a 3rd figure, taller, leaner. He didn't wear armor. He wore a coat that swayed like a flag of authority. Kaela squinted as the door hissed open. Her cell hadn't been opened since they'd locked her inside bleeding and bruised. The tall one stepped forward. Kaela Rix, he said, his voice dry but deliberate. I am Interrogator Tharn. I've been assigned to ease your transition into cooperation. She laughed once, sharp. Did your warden run out of ways to slap me? Not quite. He simply found mine more efficient. Tharn signaled the guards. They grabbed her, hauled her up. Her feet dragged slightly as they led her down a narrow hallway. Light flickered overhead, an old system breaking down. The path curved underground into a chamber lined with reflective walls. An echo chamber. The air here pulsed. She felt it more than heard it, low frequencies designed to interfere with inner equilibrium. She stumbled once. The guards steadied her with unnecessary force. Tharn circled. I've studied your file. You were a combat engineer during the Terra-Mars border conflict. Honors for survival in the Arctic collapse. Not bad for someone born in a dome full of ration rot and radiation. Kaela stared. Your point? You know structure. System vulnerabilities. Human adaptability. He smiled faintly. That makes you more than a brute. And more dangerous. She looked him in the eye. So you're here to study me? Or break me? Both. Tharn gestured. The drone clicked and hovered closer. A tendril extended from its belly, glowing faintly. Neural disruption, he explained. Non-lethal. Very effective. 5 pulses, and your memory gets foggy. 10, and you forget basic language. But here's the trick, I'll only use 1. If you tell me how you map the shifts. Kaela's eyes hardened. You're scared. That's why you're asking. Tharn blinked. You're not trying to break me, she continued. You're trying to figure out how close I am to success. She jerked forward suddenly. The guards tensed. But Kaela only grinned. You think pain is a lever. On Earth, pain is currency. I've paid enough. Tharn's expression flickered. Begin, he said. The drone buzzed. Kaela's scream echoed once. They returned her to the cell unconscious. Hours passed, maybe more. Kaela awoke with blood dried at the base of her neck, the light unchanged, the hum unchanged. She didn't cry. Instead, she whispered to herself. 10-degree angle on the drone's sensor. Delay before pulse fires. 1 second latency. She smiled with cracked lips. Slow tech. Movement in the hallway. Quiet footsteps. Then, the slot in her door slid open. A thin arm slipped through and placed something down. Water. Real. Filtered. Kaela reached for it, hand trembling. Don't speak, came the whisper from beyond the door. Male. Tired. Not syndicate. You're not one of them, she said. I'm called SYNN. I work systems. Repairs. Saw what they did to you. Kaela drank. The water burned down her throat like salvation. Why help me? A pause. You didn't hesitate to protect the child. You earn more than death. Kaela stared at the door. Then give me information, she said. Shift times. Electrical relays. Feed routes. SYNN hesitated. I could die. I already am, Kaela replied. Moments passed. Then a whisper. 2 days. Western corridor. Night shift swaps leave a blind span of 9 minutes. Power dips then. You want out? That's your window. Kaela nodded slowly. What about you? I disappear afterward. My choice. The slot closed. She leaned back, exhaled through her teeth. Her heartbeat was steady now. Focus returning. She wasn't broken. She was sharpening. That night, Kaela slept. Not long. But enough. She dreamed of Earth, what it used to be. The Arctic storms. The bone-deep cold. Her unit around a fire. Faces she couldn't forget. Lieutenant Mora, who always kept a bullet in her boot just in case. Anders, who sang to the wind like it was a friend. And Miles, her second-in-command, who'd died with a syndicate knife through his neck. She awoke with his name on her lips. Goreth, she murmured, I'll burn your name into ash. By the next cycle, Kaela stood straighter. Her muscles screamed with every movement, but her mind was sharp. She resumed her routine, counting speaker glitches, tracing heat shifts in the wall, building the final piece of her escape map. When the guards came to feed her next, she was calm. One-eyed her bruises. Still breathing? What a waste. Kaela smiled. Want to see a trick? He leaned closer. She spat, direct hit to his eye. As he staggered, she twisted her chain, slammed it against the second's leg. Crack. Bone snapped. Too fast. Too violent. They scrambled to restrain her again. She didn't fight back this time. She just whispered, "Tick-tock." That night, Tharn reviewed her file again. Warden Vrock watched from his private screen, irritated. "She's escalating," Vrock muttered. Tharn nodded slowly. "She's not reacting. She's executing. Then end her." Tharn didn't reply. Instead, he zoomed in on Kaela's cell. She sat calmly. Waiting. Watching. Smiling. Kaela counted silently as the lights above her cell dimmed by 2%, exactly as SYNN had promised. The system was shifting into night protocol. Power grid latency. 9 minutes of reduced surveillance. This was her window. She rose slowly, flexing fingers still raw from restraint. Every nerve burned. But she moved like a machine forged from fury and precision. She popped the metal shard from her sleeve cuff, her key, her blade, her salvation. It had taken her 6 shifts to wear down the floor plate beneath her bench. Now she pulled it free, revealing a maintenance shaft the width of her shoulders. One breath. Then she dropped in. The shaft was tight and unforgiving. She moved elbow by elbow, every scrape a calculated step. Dust clung to her skin. The recycled air tasted like rust. Her pulse thudded against the metal. 30 meters. A left turn. 2 ducts above led to the main grid access panel. She kicked it once. Hard. It clanged open. Kaela hoisted herself out into a cramped junction lined with blinking conduit. Her feet touched down quietly. She reached the emergency relay and slashed the manual override with her shard. Sparks flared. Lights flickered across the western mining corridor. Blackout. The alarms didn't go off. Just as planned. She moved. Elsewhere in the mine, the prisoners stirred as the lights failed. Zur, the 6-side Ogeron from Block D, blinked in confusion. Then he remembered Kaela's words from 2 nights ago. When the lights die, move. The message had spread like infection, cell by cell. Not all believed. But those who had waited, prepared. From behind crates, from shadows between corridor bends, came movement. Improvised weapons. Pipe fragments. Tools sharpened to a point. Freedom didn't need finesse. Just fire. Kaela moved like a phantom through the chaos she'd birthed. Guards ran, voices crackling through half-dead comms. Stun drones darted aimlessly, blinded by signal jamming SYNN had rigged into the control boards. Panic spread fast, discipline, slower. She disabled 2 guards with fluid precision, first one's knee, second one's throat. She dragged their bodies into the shadows, took a pulse rifle, and kept running. She knew her target. Command hub. 3rd level. Past the drone bay. Where Vrock watched everything. Controlled everything. Not for long. SYNN met her near the auxiliary stairs. He handed her a small device, a data shard glowing blue. Broadcast trigger. Plug it into the command node. Everything gets dumped to every syndicate frequency. She looked at him, eyes cold but grateful. You sure? I'm dead the moment this starts. Doesn't matter if I stay. Kaela nodded once. Then die on your terms. They parted. She ran. The command hub stood behind a pair of reinforced doors, guarded by 4 elite syndicate soldiers in full combat harness. She charged anyway. First blast, pulse rifle to the left flank. The nearest soldier dropped, armor cracked. Second rolled toward her. Kaela ducked, slid, came up under his chin with her elbow. His head snapped back. She seized his weapon mid-fall. Third fired wildly. She deflected the bolt off the wall. Shrapnel carved his neck. The 4th got close. Too close. He grabbed her by the shoulder, lifted her. She bit him. Hard. He screamed as his neck opened under her stolen blade. Then the doors opened. And Warden Vrock stood inside, watching her with something between awe and hatred. Well, he said quietly. You really are a Deathworlder. Kaela stepped in. And you really are short for a warden. He drew his own weapon, long and cruel, humming with plasma. She threw her pulse rifle aside. No guns, she said. Just you and me. Vrock smiled. Very well. The fight was brutal. Vrock was fast, stronger than he looked. His tail struck like a whip, slicing across her arm. She countered with a kick to his midsection, following it with 2 strikes to his ribs. He laughed. She spat blood. He roared, slashing with his claws. She ducked, rolled, kicked his knee. It cracked but held. He slammed her into the wall. Humans, he hissed, are all bark. She headbutted him. Hard. His jaw broke. He staggered. She followed with a punch that dislodged a tooth. Then another. And another. She grabbed him by the throat, pinned him against the terminal. Say it, she growled. He gargled through blood. Say what? He croaked. Say you lost. He coughed, spat another tooth. Kaela shoved the data shard into the control panel. Syndicate broadcast systems lit up. Screens flared. Vrock's image appeared across every outpost under his rule, bruised, bleeding, defeated. Kaela leaned into the camera. This is Kaela Rix of Earth. Goreth is no longer yours. We're done kneeling. She turned back to Vrock, who now clutched his mangled mouth. She leaned close. That was 12 teeth. You slapped a Deathworld girl. He whimpered. She whispered, I remove things one by one. By dawn, the mine gates were open. SYNN was gone, vanished into the surface storms. The prisoners stood together under the fractured sky. No chains. No orders. Just silence and ashen freedom. Kaela stepped forward, body bruised but unbowed. We're not just survivors, she said. We're the reckoning. They didn't cheer. They didn't need to. They followed.